Hey guys, welcome to Office Hours. This Office Hours is actually going to be dedicated to Tech Talk Live. So I am Kristen Castaldo, I'm your community manager. And last week we hosted our 100th Tech Talk Live. We thought this was a pretty important milestone, so we wanted to take this session to go over the history of Tech Talk Live and talk about some of our favorite episodes, and then get into what we would like to do with all the upcoming ones as we continue to host the event. So I'm going to let the team introduce themselves. We have some special guests today. So if you guys want to say, who you are, what you're doing now, and what you were doing when you were formerly hosting Tech Talk Live.
So why don't we start with the guest, Jeff? Everyone pretty much knows you, but why don't you start?
Sure. So I'm Jeff Potts. I'm currently a consultant focused on Alfresco and other technologies like Elasticsearch and Activity. And at the time I was doing Tech Talk Live hosting, I was the Chief Community Officer for Alfresco. So that's me.
Should we go chronological?
Yeah.
So, I'm Richard. Yeah, so I'm Richard Esplin, and I'm currently a product manager at Alfresco. And I joined the Alfresco community team with Jeff, and worked as his right-hand guy for a while, his sidekick. And when he decided to strike out as a consultant again, I took over Tech Talk Live for a year and a half or so, until I recruited my own alter ego to come take over. So that'd be
you
you,
can call me sidekick. That's all right. So I guess I'm up next. I'm Ola Helsko. I'm product manager at Alfresco, and I joined almost 2 years ago now. Joined in as a developer evangelist, and I took over Tech Talk Live and ran that for a year and a half, and recently passed it on to our new developer evangelist, our product evangelist, Francesco. I just wanted to apologize that we don't have the lower third bar. Francesco still has it. No one knows why he has it, and none of us can get it working. It just gives some weird errors, so I apologize for not having that.
Cloud-based software.
Over to you, Francesco.
Okay, hi, I'm Francesco. I'm the new product evangelist, and since October, I'm working together with Kristen and Ola, of course, and Richard is always on the air, and we like it on the Tech Talk Live and Office Hours. So I'm the newbie of the group, even if I learned and I moved my first steps in Alfresco thanks to the tutorial of Jeff's. So I link again at the beginning. And so I'm very happy to have all of you here. Of course, we work with Ole, Kristen, and Richard all the time, and we appreciate that work, we know.
Awesome. So before we get into the the full-on Tech Talk Live discussions, we do have a handful of announcements and important things we just kind of want to get across to everybody. So our next Tech Talk Live will be on January 11th. That's a Wednesday, and that's going to be focused on desktop sync. And then our office hours for January is going to be on the 27th. And we're going to have some special guests from the Order of the Bee, where we are going to kind of discuss what's going on with BCon 2017, so you can get a little preview of the topics, sessions they may host. We may even have a little venue preview pending technology. So you guys should definitely come to those events. I'll have both of those posted in the community so you know where the links are to join. I'm going to hand it over to Francesco, who's going to do our news, or what's been happening.
Okay, if you agree, I would like to share my screen and okay. Because last time in the, can you see my screen?
Yes, we see it now.
Okay, great. So let's see very rapidly what has been going on since the last time. It was the beginning of November. So what happens inside the Alfresco ecosystem since there? Of course, we won't talk about the news in general, because we are not interested in the news in general, but we are almost interested in Alfresco news, and we would like to understand better what happens in the last few weeks in the Alfresco ecosystem. let's start the 10th of November, because last time we had news, it was the 9th of November, where Tony De La Fuente shared news about Alfresco One Reference Architecture in few minutes with AWS. It has been a very interesting article, very accessible for the people, so I would like to submit to your attention also in this case. Do you know that we have released, so Gavin Corner has released more than 6 posts about the new REST API. Okay, during the last weeks.
Hey, Francesco, I'm jumping in. You're still on the first slide. I'm not sure if you're scrolling through.
Yes, I am. I'm moving the slides. Can't you see the slides?
I see the first slide.
Yeah, I think the screen sharing maybe be stuck or something. Maybe try and stop sharing and. Oh no, something happened. Oh,
now on slide 2.
Can you see now the slide? Yes, because I hear laughing.
We see.
I see an orangutan.
You mean crying? You don't hear laughing. You're mostly crying.
Okay, I will try in that way. So I was saying here, and please tell me if I will tell you when I move the slide, that I don't want to talk about news in general. This is the news in general, of course, but I would like to talk about the Alfresco news. Can you see the Alfresco news right now?
No, we still see.
And now, can you see? So it doesn't
now
work.
We see it. Yes.
Okay, so I go in that way. So we were talking that about the deploying Alfresco architecture in a few minutes with AWS. Repeat a little bit just to let you see also the article. So this is where I was talking about the 7 posts about REST APIs. And if you didn't heard about it, I suggest you to go in the community site, because there are more than 7 posts about the brand new REST API. Gavin Corner did a great work to evangelize and to spread the word about that. Mario Romano informed us the 12th of November and the 26th of November about brand new releases of ADF, but this is not the end. It's only the beginning, and great news before the end of this year and this month about the ADF. Did you know that Martin Version developed a full set of articles about activity and activity together with Alfresco and so on? It's a very interesting content I submit to you and to your attention, because it's a helpful tutorial, helpful content. Christina Martin, the 17th of November, shared with us the great work of Jean-Marie Pascal about using Alfresco Java Client SDK using the REST API. Of course, we're using the content from Gavin Cornwell. I would like to remember. The 17th of November, when we had the Tech Talk, an office hour together with John Sotiropoulos, so Doug Johnson, and also John Newton, about activity and the BPM stuff around Alfresco. The 18th of November, we released an Alfresco community early access release, but today there is a great news about this. The main news about the release in November has been about Solar 6.3 that can be installed together, can work together with Alfresco from here in ahead. I say can because right now it's an optional module you can install. Dave Draper with our blog post, the 21st of November, Preparing the Future of iCow. I suggest you to read it, to take a look at it. And another blog post introducing material design iCow widget. So what material design is, it's relevant for all of us. And interesting article for Dave Draper over iCow with this technology. If you are interested to understand how Google Material Design works together with the REST API, there is also an article from the community about to develop as very easy client over it. the release of a complete course over activity from the Alfresco Educational as the 22nd of November. Interesting thing from Douglas, and of course talking about a project integrating Alfresco and CIS. Another interesting integration between Alfresco and WordPress from Angel Borroy and Keensoft. Interesting event because Alfresco was in the reInvent event in Vegas, Amazon event, where we present also the brand new ADF. 2nd of December, a very interesting release about the desktop sync that is available for Alfresco 1, so it's not exactly an open source project, and agreed we would like also to maintain the open source approach, submitting to your extension also another alternative. Of course, it's not a certified alternative for Alfresco, but it's an open source alternative that is a CMIS sync, but a huge welcome to desktop sync. We was waiting for it. I would like to remember the success of the Tech Talk Live number 100 about application development framework, and another release, the 6th of December, the Alfresco Mobile for iOS .24. I would like to remember that this is the only open source project available for the iOS platform, of course, talking about ECM, and this is very interesting stuff. Article from Douglas about recovering a related user in Alfresco, and Bindu that share with us one of his projects, an extension, Alfresco extension to help the development and administration of Alfresco. Will Abson with updates on the activity custom reports. And the 8th of December, glad to see that Douglas helped the Alfresco BART backup tool from Tony De La Fuente. A huge clap for the 1000 release of iHow that is available. And another blog post from Dave Draper about improving iCow performance. I would like to submit to your attention a more closer partnership between Alfresco and Microsoft about data capture. And today's news from Axel Faust about a brand new component, very interesting, so I would like you to take a look at this. The main news today is about the release of the GA edition of the Alfresco Community 5.2 release. So welcome to the Alfresco. That's all for my news. Sorry for taking too much time. I stopped talking, Kristen, to you to introduce the next topics.
I think that might have been my most productive 10 minutes of the last 2 months. That was...
Thank you.
Great.
I think that,
Richard, is there any other details on the 5.2 community edition release? Anything you can share on it?
Yeah, so it hasn't changed much since the November early access release, which is a good thing. We got some feedback on November that it was reliable, and we've done a lot of testing since November. The key information people probably want to know about is for the next, we think 3 or 4 months, we're going to keep doing monthly releases, and they'll probably all be GAs and just have bug fixes. So as we continue to test towards an enterprise release of that 5.2 series lifecycle. For those who are paying lots of attention, you'll notice in the Jive community at community.alfresco.com that there's a box that has links to all the community edition releases. Those links, something's wrong. I'm having trouble updating them, so they're probably going to stay wrong for a couple of days while we figure it out. But we try to put the right link everywhere else. And yeah, anyway, that's we got a release out. Thank goodness.
So like Richard said, the link in the top of the community is going to be, there'll be an update announcement that has the correct link. But again, if you use that featured downloads on the left-hand side, we're working to get that link updated. There's just an issue with the code. so we're working with Jive to resolve. If nobody else has any more announcements, we can kind of go ahead. Oh, you got one?
One announcement, which is today, not today, but soon. We're working on the 1.0 limited availability release of ADF. So that's the application development framework that we're pushing out into limited availability. Has a ton of bug fixes in there. I know we had a lot of interest on Mario's TikTok Live last week or the week before. Can't keep track of time, but that's going out soon. I'm hoping it will go out today, but I know the team is struggling to fix everything and get it into shape and get it out the door. So look out for some social posts on that on Twitter, and we'll make a bit of noise around it when it's available.
So Boris points out in IRC that the biggest flaw with Hangouts on Air is that we have to look at the screen or look at the person or look at their desktop. And so we can't see Francesco's Italian hand gestures when he's presenting. Maybe we do need to find another solution.
I think
I know when I'm talking, I bounce a little too much. But
we just need one camera to point at Francesco at all times, and then one to show his screen. So that's easy. You just need an extra laptop. That's problem solved.
I will do for the next time. Thank you for the suggestion. And probably in spring, I can run in the grass because I can move more. So you can follow me in that. Okay.
All right, guys. So, so Tech Talk Lives. So I think Tech Talk Lives actually predate any of us, correct? I think Jeff is our oldest host in the. Well, I don't want to say oldest. That's not right, but you know, in the scheme of things, there.
Wisest host.
Ageism creeps into office hours all of a sudden. Wow.
So there. We do have a page in the Jive community that lists all the office hours so far.
Yeah.
And just scrolling through all 100, you get all the way down to the bottom where Luis Sala starts this idea with Nancy Garrity, who's handling our community relationship at the time. And you'll see on here that some of these names are still hanging around. Jared's still working for Alfresco, and here's Jeff on the call with us.
I love that page because it's like, you know how anthropologists and archaeologists will go through like ancient landfills, and every layer, you know, tells a story. And if you go scrolling through that page, you can see what people cared about in the Alfresco technical community over the years, and it's really pretty funny to see some of that stuff that there were some acronyms on there I couldn't even remember. I was like, what the heck? What was that thing? I don't even remember what that thing was.
And the JavaScript framework flavor of the day. So Axel says you are the hostest with the mostest, which that's a good title.
Most senior. That's the way to say it, I believe.
Well, it's kind of cool that I was there for the first one, and then I wasn't there for the 100th one, but I was there to talk about that we've had 100. So that's kind of cool. So
yeah, we went back and forth a lot on whether we should do something special for TikTok Live episode 100. But the tricky bit is that we have so many topics we want to present on TikTok Live. Like, Francisco, I believe you and Kristen, you have like a big queue of people who are just lined up to and eager to get on TikTok Live. So we decided that let's use office hours to talk about TikTok Live. And I would assume that when we get to office hours episode 100, we're going to spend TikTok Live talking about office hours. No, just joking.
Yeah, I think this is perfect because office hours has always been very meta. Right, it's always been sort of about a discussion about the community, a discussion about what was going on and things like that, and not necessarily focused on a particular technical topic. So I think this is a perfect place to talk about 100 episodes of Tech Talk.
Yeah, the YREG points out, Eunice points out that the recordings for those old videos are lost, and unfortunately our WebEx drive filled up, and getting things out of WebEx for anyone who's tried is very painful. So William Harper, who is our chief spam fighter, no, it was Alex. Alex, who was our previous chief spam fighter, spent many painful hours exporting from WebEx and converting to MP4 to upload to YouTube. And He's like, how many of these do I have to do? I told him he only had to go back 3 years. So we have all the YouTube ones, and then we have the last 20 or so of the WebEx ones. But the first 20 or so are just gone.
Well, that was something that was important to Richard and I, was to make sure that anyone that wanted to could view the content without providing email addresses or getting put into the marketing machine, because it just seemed ridiculous that we had this freely available open source ECM platform, but then to participate in the community or to digest that content, you had to surrender your personal information. So getting that out of WebEx was important.
I'm just laughing at Jeff's high-minded, cultural, philosophical approach, and I just wanted something that worked on my Linux laptop, so I didn't have to use WebEx and a VM to host.
That too, yeah.
In any case, I don't know what you're looking about. During the last time, I had the opportunity to go through the preview of the available videos, and I saw that at very beginning, you the Technical Live were discussing over some slides. So it was not like it is now, so viewing the faces and so on. But I have seen that there are a huge number of slides, and you discuss over the slides. What do you think about that? Do you want to share?
Well, I think originally there wasn't much difference between a marketing webinar and what was going on with Tech Talk Live, maybe. But we tried to. But I think that at the time, if you remember back in that year, I mean, podcasts were starting to, were very popular. And video was just taking off, and so Luis Sala, who was doing those early episodes, was a very, very into podcasting and just broadcasting and things like that. And so I think the goal was to make it conversational, to be a discussion, like when we go to a conference and we're sitting around talking about technical stuff, or if we happen to be in a location, in the same location, and we're just sitting around talking about technical stuff. That was the goal, was to make it like that. A lot less. And in fact, we would tell people, try not to prepare a lot of slides. Try to make this conversational. Try to make it a discussion. This is not a sort of a beat people over the head with PowerPoint slides and then have that be the end. We really want this to be conversational, and I think we made that. I think we met that goal.
Yeah, and we should mention that Luis Sala is currently at Amazon in some sort of developer outreach role. I forgot his exact title, and he couldn't arrange his work schedule to join us today. What, Francesco?
It should be evangelist. He's too.
I called him a developer evangelist, and he corrected me because it was related. It's like he builds technologies the developers adopt. What?
Yeah, he's technology evangelist, I believe.
Okay, technology evangelist, not developer evangelist. That's what it is. Yeah. So anyway, he's enjoying it in Amazon. He and I haven't caught up in a lot of detail recently, but just a brief conversation as I was inviting him to come, and seems to be doing well. And anybody who's met Luis, or you could watch some of his. I guess we have one of his old DevCon videos, a couple of his old videos on YouTube. He's one of those larger than life personalities. He's a very expansive, sort of engaging person, and so it was pretty natural, I think, for him to start a session like Tech Talk Live to converse and share and discuss.
I think when he was younger, he was in theater, and I think I'm pretty sure he was like a drama participant kind of thing. And I think that's why, and he has the way he speaks, he has just a very good projection, and just he's very articulate, and he just loves talking about this kind of stuff. So this was a perfect thing for him to. I mean, it was totally born of his personal interests, I think, and it worked out well.
And Jeff, go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead, Ole.
No, I have a question. So you just.
Jeff took over. You took over when Luis took his first hiatus from Alfresco.
Yeah. So I guess what happened was Luis started Tech Talk, and then Nancy Garrity joined as the community leader, and then she ran it for a while. Then Luis left Alfresco, and then I joined as the chief community officer. And during that time, I think at that time, Tech Talk Live sort of died. I think there was maybe close to a year where we didn't do any Tech Talk Lives. And I think there was just, at the time, there was just a feeling of there wasn't much interest, or, you know, I don't know, maybe we were busy. I don't remember exactly why it sort of died. And then somebody said, hey, why don't we need to be doing those again. We need to be engaging with the community. And so Richard and I were, you know, we tried to think of every which way we could reach out to people, right? Whether it was in person, doing in-person events. We were talking about some of those earlier before the call started, but doing in-person events, doing Tech Talk Live, doing office hours, being more present in the forums, you know, because different people in the community like to engage in different ways. And so we tried to hit as many different channels as we possibly could.
So essentially, when you took over, there was no official handover saying, this is how we do Tech Talk Live, here you go, this is your baby now. So you essentially had to reinvent the whole thing. How did office hours get introduced? Was that part of that rebirth that you gave it? And what was the thinking behind that?
Well, so we had, we didn't really reinvent. We just we stood on the shoulders of giants, I would say, right? We didn't reinvent it completely because it had already been done and we had participated in that. So we kind of knew the gist, but we knew we wanted it to be out of WebEx and into something more open. So that's why we started using Google to do it. And then, but it was every Tech Talk Live was kind of focused on a technical topic. And so Richard and I were thinking, you know, we work distributed, as all of us on the call do. So we didn't get to work together, didn't collaborate that often. And so, but when we did, it was good, right? And so we thought, well, maybe, you know, if people could sort of work with us, alongside us in some way, that might be kind of fun. And so the original idea for office hours was like in a professor, when you go to university, usually your professor sets up a time and says, if you have questions or you want to have a discussion, then come by my office during this time, and that's called office hours. And so we thought, what if people just wanted to pop in to the community team and have a chat? Maybe it's about technical stuff, maybe it's about how the community is being run. You know, it could be about anything. And if we run out of things to talk about, our backup plan was to jump into the forums and just do some live solving of forum questions. And we actually had so much to talk about that we never got to that to that point that we had to do that. But yeah, that was the idea, was people could just stop by, pop onto the panel and talk about whatever they wanted to, just like you would if you stopped by a professor's office and wanted to talk about the lecture that day or something like that. So that was the idea.
Yeah, Boris says he thinks that office hours is a great boost for collaboration. And I think part of when we moved from WebEx to YouTube, that's when we said, well, we need some way to interact live. People aren't calling in so much. So we started using the IRC channel more. And I think that's really what provided that boost, is that, you know, people can go to chat.alfresco.com and ask questions and share jokes or whatever. I think it really helps a lot with, I was just checking. So it was between episode 46 and 47. May 7th, 2010 is 46, and July 6th, 2011. We went a year and a half without doing any webinars or anything. And we had Maxine on the team, who she helped us schedule everything. And she's like, hey, you know, we can set this up. Maxine's currently at Nuance and is on their marketing team, and she seems to enjoy there quite a bit. So,
yeah, I think the problem with the community stuff, in my opinion, was neither side heard from each other enough, right? So as a community member, I never felt like I heard enough from Alfresco, And I obviously there's marketing going on, but that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear other things, right? And then once I joined the company, I felt the same way about hearing from the community. Like I never heard from people out in the community. I felt like I was always just like shouting into an empty room, and it was annoying to me that there wasn't a two-way communication happening that was more easily felt. And so using video is sort of a way to do that. Obviously, we also resurrected IRC. That was mainly, Richard's idea. There was a small IRC group going, but nothing like it is now. And that was all just part of this feeling of not being connected enough to the community.
It took me a year to get us control the IRC channel again. I think it was almost empty, and people would just pop in and out, but nobody stayed. And there were 3 people in there, and one of them happened to be the person that created the account or set up the channel. And I was able to find his email on the interwebs because he never checked his IRC client. That was a task. That took a while. And
we're also glad that you did it, though, because it's very cool to have the number of people that we have in there every day. It's awesome.
Well, I think it's the back and forth that builds the friendships. It's been fun to really create personal relationships with people. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Oli.
Yeah, I was just going to say that that was my first entry point to the community. I was hanging out at the IRC channel, and that really just picked up after starting going to hackathons and summit and meetups and stuff, and just knowing the people and knowing the faces behind it. That was really the entry point for me to really get engaged with the community. So when Richard and Jeff, you guys have the most historical knowledge in it. What was the scariest moment you had in hosting Tech Talk Live or Office Hours? Any insights or fun stories you can share? I know there's a couple of ones, but please do share some funny details or scary details, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I'll let Richard take that, but I want to set up the comment by saying how nervous I always got before we did these, and I don't know why, but like right before, like getting it set up is stressful. Like making sure everyone that is going to be on there has the link, making sure that they are don't have any technical details, and then hitting that go live button on the live stream. For some reason, my hands got sweaty every single time. So like leading up to it is a very nerve-wracking thing. And there's so many things that can go wrong. And most of the time they didn't, but Richard, I guess a couple of times we did have a couple of really bad.
I just wanted to latch on to that comment that I had the exact same feeling when I was hosting the first couple of Tech Talk Live myself. Like, did I remember everything? Is it public? Is it private? Can people access it? Can't they access it? Is the host? Does the microphone work? Is the internet connection going to be stable? And I remember a few times from my own past where my internet broke down like 2 minutes before, and I had to tell it with my phone and just hope and pray that my phone wouldn't ring, because that would cut me off from the internet when I tell into the phone. So that was a bit scary, but I completely get it. And for you guys who are watching that doesn't know about how we set these things up, we actually start 30-40 minutes in advance by setting everything up and making sure that it works and getting that little lower third thing working that we just haven't been able to fix for the last couple of times. So there's a lot of preparation going into setting all of this up. But Richard, maybe you want to talk a bit about the scariest moments you've had.
Well, and for those that have been invited to speak, you've probably received the long email from Jeff, and I think we still use. I continue to use it. Here are tips. Hangouts is temperamental. Make sure your browser's set up. Use a headset. Lock your door and warn family members you're on videos so nobody walks in improperly clothed or whatever.
We
don't want to be the next.
Yeah.
Exactly. We don't want our hangout to become the next YouTube phenomenon from the person who walks in unexpected. And in fact, one time I forgot about this. I shared in IRC the presenter link instead of the viewer link to YouTube, and somebody joined, and I don't know what state of undress he was in, but it was a large, he wasn't wearing lots of clothing, but he seemed to recognize what happened fairly quickly and exited. I I've been careful to not figure out who that person is, so hopefully they don't feel awkward next time they join to speak or whatever. But they did. That didn't work out well.
Kristen, sorry to interrupt. Kristen, I feel very lucky hearing about this fear.
Yeah, I still sweat this pretty often. In fact, I've only had to host a couple of these without you guys, and we're not even without you guys. Francesco's always with me, but I'm the one pressing the button. And the last one we did was with John Newton, and I'm still relatively new to Alfresco, right? So like my anxiety level was pretty high up to be like, you guys throw me to the wolves with John Newton? That's the day you want me to go solo? Can we not have like the informal one be that day? But thus far, it's been pretty okay. I will say I do love the IRC channel joining pretty, I'm pretty late in the Alfresco game. A lot of you guys have been doing this for a long time, and it definitely feels like a very close-knit community of people who actually know each other. And I run stats on the questions that come in and the responses and the health of the community and stuff. And if you post a question in IRC or if you post a question on the platform, your chances of somebody responding to you are really high, like above and beyond industry standards of forum technology. I think it's like 85% of the questions that come in have some sort of response generally. And so it feels very like a very collaborative space where people really are out to help each other and engage with each other. And so I don't necessarily have that feeling you guys may have had in the beginning where you felt like you weren't talking to anybody. I feel like there's always people listening and looking for more information. But I will say for future Tech Talk Lives, Francesco and I definitely want to get feedback from everybody. We do have a giant list of people that want to present and what they'd like to present to you guys, but we would love to hear from the community what you'd like to see more of, what formats you appreciate. Like, I feel like we could just have sessions where people code for an hour. We wouldn't have any slides, just go in there and have a conversation and just watch, Dave or Mario or somebody just code for an hour, and that would be engaging to the group.
Yeah, I think doing a whole, we could do a completely separate series to Tech Talk Live, just coding with Dave and have him on a hangout for an hour, just coding, and everyone be all over it.
And I really like that. Oh, go ahead, Francesco.
No, just to say that the feeling that I have talking with people and evaluating the last Tech Talk Live is that the community appreciate when people start, when the developer starts coding and look at the code. I would like only to remember last time when some comments from the C were about how fast is to code Mario respect to other developer, or how slow is one respect to the other. It's quite funny. In any case, the hacking is something very appreciated. Richard, I interrupted you before because you were start talking about the most biggest fear you had. And I'm very interested because until now, the fear is in advance preparing the talk, but a real fear during the talk, for example, the connectivity shut down. I don't know, a monster came to eat you. I don't know.
Well, and the nice thing about getting to know people is that we have a very patient community that, our amigos on IRC are pretty gentle when things go wrong. And even John Newton's pretty, takes challenges in stride. But, the same way we have with Lower Third today, YouTube's, every time you use Hangouts on air, it's different. And the first couple times you're trying this, it was so painful to figure out, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? And there was a problem where if the presenter's connectivity was lost, then the entire Hangout died. And I remember that happening to Jeff at least once, where his computer went down, and so the Hangout dies for everybody. And then it's like, okay, start a new one and go to the IRC channel and give everybody the new link and hope you get some of your audience over, and then afterwards splicing the connections together. And then the first time Jeff was done, and I was hosting, I was the presenter, and my connectivity died, and I was just totally prepared for everything to go crazy. But I logged back in and it was still going. It's like Hangouts works now. But I remember logging back in thinking, I wonder if any of the presenters are still going to be there.
We had some situation, I don't know if it was the same one, but we had to completely redo Mike Farman's demo. Like we had to do that again, and he just
That's because his environment died. His whole laptop just totally failed. It was so bad.
Yeah, which that's another Mike Farman is super smart and has done a lot of great things for Alfresco, but when he has to speak or do a demo, he gets very keyed up, and a lot of times it's because you fear that something terrible is going to happen, but it never happens, and so poor Mike, because he was all keyed up to do that demo, and then it just completely wiped out, and we had to do it again. We basically did a pretend Tech Talk Live where he did a demo for 0 people, but we recorded it and then we spliced it back into the recording and then made that available. So that was probably the worst wipeout we ever had.
And we actually had the opposite experience once with Michael Suzuki's presentation in Summit. Totally failed. His whole environment just crashed. And so he came on and did it successfully in Tech Talk Live. And thank goodness for second chances.
So in Mike's defense, he's gotten a lot better. Funny anecdote, last year I was at the Alfresco Day in Sydney in October last year, and it just seemed like there was some kind of curse regarding the flights to get to Sydney. I was delayed. It took me 55 plus hours to get there from Copenhagen. It was just painful. Mike was stranded in Dubai for like 20 hours or something. So he arrived in Sydney at the hotel like an hour and a half before he had to go on stage and do a demo. And he was completely cool about it. So he just went to his room, got a shower, went downstairs, did the demo. He completely aced it. Everything was good, and we went out to have some drink later on. And he actually he was hanging in there quite late, which was surprising because he had like 60 plus hours of flight time to get to Sydney. That was so he's in a much better shape now. But I believe it was a couple of years ago since that fateful TikTok Live.
And Boris is joking in chat about Oli showing off while traveling to Sydney, which goes back to the earlier stories about we really try at different points in Alfresco's life cycle. We've emphasized having local events more than others, and I'm still sad that Jeff took my Sydney trip. I planned that meetup for a year, and I was able to go to Copenhagen. That was wonderful in South America. So, it is one of the perks of this job. The travel can be painful, but it is fun to meet people all over the place.
But I would want to add, in terms of the Sydney trip, you did get the chance to go to Sydney because I offered you to go in my place to Sydney because I had to cut the trip short. I had to be in Geneva the week after, or like 5 days after the event. So I only had 2 days combined in Sydney, and then I had to fly back home because I needed to be in Geneva for the next Alfresco Day.
The Americans feel no sympathy for you guys. I'm just letting you know. I'm sorry you had to be in Geneva.
That's so rough.
And Boris guesses correctly. He put into chat, let me guess, couldn't go to Sydney because your family was growing. And that's the fun. My second chance to go to Sydney was 3 weeks after my baby was born or something. And I remember talking with my wife about, it's Sydney. Like, I could totally, the baby will be 3 weeks old. You'll be recovered. Everything's fine. But no, some permissions are harder than others.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we have a couple of
far field
we need to go over. Just looking at our notes here.
We wanted to talk about the most viewed TikTok lives.
What's been the most popular ones so far? And Francesco, I know you've collected some data early on the view counters for, at least for the ones that we have recordings for. I know there's like 30, 40 some we don't have the recordings for and don't have numbers on, but for at least for a good part of them we do. So please do enlighten us. And what's been, and I haven't looked at the numbers yet because I want it to be a surprise, a genuine surprise. So I actually don't know which is the most popular one, but please do tell us.
Let's try again with the screen sharing, and please tell me if you can see the slide. Of course, differently from my previous presentation, I would like to be interrupted because it's most interesting if we talk about the numbers. Let's start from some dates. The 25th of April 2008 has been the first live, and the title were, "Can you hear me now?" Okay, so this is what we were mentioning before. And the title is quite funny for me. The 7th of July 2011, the first YouTube video, because before I have seen in, how is it, sharing a presentation, and the 2nd of July 2012, the first face was shown, and I have to say that the face was Jeff's face. So Jeff, you have been the first putting his face in the video to the other community. So let's talk about numbers. These are the most accessed Tech Talk Live. So episode number 39. Oh, even if we have to underline that this is the top known views. And with known, I mean that unfortunately, in some cases, we don't have the number of accesses. So these are the number. These are the top list of the accesses views using YouTube mainly.
How did you get views on the 2009 ones? Are those in YouTube? I thought they were. I thought that was WebEx days.
No,
so we actually do have one of some of those were in WebEx. We did have the recordings, and they were uploaded to YouTube, but not all of them. So we do have some of them. The key takeaway I am taking here is that I win because I was in the most popular one, number one, Alfresco, maybe in the repository. So, or actually, is that no? That's the 2009. Oh, sorry, no, that's not. I'm in 3rd place. Too bad. That was the Mavenized Alfresco SDK. That was me.
Yeah, this is you. This is you. This is
yeah.
So Dave Draper wins the guess. He said before you showed your screen, he said in IRC, I bet it's Oli's SDK one, and the number one's Maven, which is SDK related, and Oli's is 3rd. Yeah.
I have to say that there is another concern about those numbers, because of course, if we go back in the time, of course, you have more opportunity to have more clicks. So for this reason, I also collect those numbers, the top views since 2015. And so I filter let me say, the most dated content, and these are the most recent one. So probably these are different numbers, but I can see, for example, the SDK, the virtual folder already on the top.
Yeah, you know, another thing you can do, not that we want to just analyze this to death, but you can also, a good measure is like to go 100 days out from when the video was published, right? And just cut it off and say how many views did they get within 100 days, and that's usually a fairly good indicator of how popular the video is.
Completely correct. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't get. No, it's not true, because YouTube is able to tell us when the views happens, so we could extract the information also about the duration. It's correct. Yes,
but I think the trend, or the thing that is obvious to me, is that the most popular videos are the things that are the most commonly done by all developers, right? So the SDK is the thing. You know, pretty much everyone that does an Alfresco project has got to do something with the SDK. And Maven is similar for a similar reason. So I think, you know, it makes sense that the more broad the appeal is, it appeals to the most number of people, but it's a very specific topic, you know, and actually at the time that those topics were shown, there wasn't a whole lot of information on those tools, right? If you wanted to use the Maven SDK when it first came out, you know, you pretty much had to have some help to figure that out in a lot of cases.
I think that again, I confirm your feeling, and which is my feeling during this period is that people always share feedback, very strong feedback, enthusiastic feedback when see people hacking code and talking about technical stuff. So instead, okay, presentation, okay, architecture, everything is fine. But of course, when you start code, everything seems to be more wow and clap your hands. So how do you feel like with these numbers? Okay,
So
always.
I was just looking up because I did before I joined Alfresco. I created a couple of things. I did an iCarve tutorial, which was hugely popular. I also did a video on setting up the Alfresco SDK 2.0 with Eclipse and hot reloading and everything. I was just checking the numbers, and that has 15,000 views total. So that's very good numbers. Just goes to show that we probably need to either simplify things a bit so it's a bit more obvious, or we just need to have more content on getting that development environment set up, how to configure things, how to get that ideal environment up and running. And just thinking back on some of the comments from when we've seen Dave or Mario being in an IDE hacking away, everyone's saying you make it look so easy, it's so fast and everything. And the truth is, if you get that environment configured correctly, you can be that efficient as well. I just think we need to figure out how we teach people to get that environment up and running that fast. But that's something for you to think about in your evangelist role, Francesco, and how we produce content to enable people to do that.
And I think that's a good segue into discussing the future of what Tech Talk Live should be to provide what it should provide people. So if any of the viewers, we've got 30 or 40 people engaging in the conversation with us, type in a chat things that you're interested in seeing at Tech Talk Live, or what can we do differently? And if you're viewing this in, at some point after today is, it's mid-December 2016, email chat@alfresco.com and let us know what you're interested in Tech Talk Live. And we really, a lot of what we do because of feedback we received. Part of the switch to Hangouts on Air was because people were frustrated with WebEx. Part of the value of chat is because people had those ideas. So we definitely benefit from what you're contributing.
Absolutely,
you
yes.
Dear viewer.
So I'll actually put a post in the Jive community so that people can contribute and like comments. You could suggest topics. You could suggest different formats. So if you guys have suggestions for what you'd like to cover in the upcoming year, and in any case, anyway, we'd like to see, something I'd be interested to see is Tech Talk Lives hosted by more of our members, right? Like, we have a lot of internal expertise for sure, but we have a lot of people doing really cool things with the products that I would like to showcase some of that. If somebody's interested in the community and hosting a Tech Talk Live and doing a demo, or doing a demo and getting feedback on what you are working on.
We used to do that quite regularly back in 2011, 2012, but it's been a while since we've done that. Yeah.
Just to share that, together with Kristen, but together also with Ole and Richard, we are planning regular Tech Talk Live and Office Hour, and we are not scared at all to do more than one Tech Talk Live per month or more than one Office Hour per month. So we are receiving lots of feedback to understand the roadmap of Alfresco, and in February we plan to involve for people also to discuss about the roadmap. But if the agenda is too strict and too full of topic, we are not scared at all. So please let us know if you have any topics that you would like to see. Of course, apart seeing more hacking and seeing more code, that of course we will follow.
So my question to follow up on this is, one thing is what kind of content would you like to see, but also the format. Do you want it to be longer sessions, shorter sessions? Is there another format? Do we need to start producing podcasts? Do we need to, I don't know, please let us know about your ideas. I'm saying podcasting because I have my own podcast, and it's in Danish, so you most of you probably won't get it, but just be interesting to see what kind of format you guys would do. So when I traveled for all the Alfresco days last year as an evangelist, doing all the technical tracks, I talked to a lot of you guys, and I asked for feedback around what can we do with online events to make it great. And everyone just said, we need to do more. They wanted more content and do it more often, more regularly. And I admittedly did a poor job at doing Tech Talk Live on a regular basis because I had so much going on and so much travel. But everyone keeps saying we need to do more, but I also want to grow the audience. So getting more people in, and maybe that's a mixture of the content. I don't know what the right mix is here, but I'd love to get some feedback on what can we do differently to see. So, and that actually leaves me into a question for Jeff. When you started doing Tech Talk Live, and then Richard, you joined in, what were your vision for Tech Talk Live, and how do you see that vision compared to where we are today, and what do you guys think we could do differently? So essentially asking you the same question, but just with your knowledge and in the back, what kind of things would you like to see?
I mean, I would just say, just remember to that I think the winning combination is appeals to a large number of people, but is very narrow in focus. And so an example is, you don't have a very broad topic about doing development in Alfresco. That's too broad. But very, very narrow, specific thing like, hey, let's look at iCow and how we can share widgets, iCow widgets for share or something. That's very specific, but it's something that has a broad appeal. I would think with the Angular 2 components, I think that would be a very good opportunity. I also think anything that can be can cover gaps where it might take a long time to write documentation to get things into the docs and things like that, but it doesn't take very much time at all to put one of these Tech Talk Lives together that would cover a topic. And as you've seen with 15,000 views or however many it was on some of the more technical YouTube videos, people will watch those over and over to see how to do something. So I think, back when I was doing these, honestly, it was a big criteria was who could we get to talk, because who would take the time to do these with us was a challenge, just finding people to do it. Then the second thing was coming up with topics. That was always a challenge. So the community can help with both of those things, right? So we can get the engineers are usually willing to help out, and Alfresco Engineering has been great over the years participating in this, but also community members. This is one way you can participate in the community, would be to discuss some of these topics. And then the other way is to suggest topics, even if doesn't matter, just suggest it, no matter how, whether you think someone's already suggested it or whether it's been covered before, just throw it out there. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I have to say that I like the approach that Christian and Francesco are taking. I don't have a lot of profound ways to improve on it. But my challenge when I was in charge of selecting topics was trying to find that balance between enough content for experienced Alfresco people to stay engaged and keep improving their knowledge, but also revisiting the same beginner topics over and over, as Alfresco is always changing and we have new people who aren't familiar with them. And it's a hard balance to strike. It goes back to Oli's point a few minutes ago about making sure we have that beginner content. Hey, Jeff, it's like when your son was getting started with Alfresco, and you got to tell this story about the coding standards that we have scattered all over.
Well, I was teaching him to code and everything, and he sent me a snippet or something and asked me for feedback on it, and he was using what I think is a truly annoying curly brace standard of putting curly braces on a new line, which is all over the Alfresco classes, and it drives me nuts. That's the first thing I change if I'm ever copying and pasting any of that code. But so I said something back to him. I was like, yeah, your code looks great, but you've got to change that curly brace. That's got to go. And he responded back and said, Dad, this code conforms to the Alfresco engineering style guide, and I'm surprised you haven't read it.
Oh, that's
So I was like, I believe your tutoring is over. You've now graduated. Congratulations.
But and honestly, internally, that's one of the challenges we recognize is we need to get better at having clear style guides and contribution criteria and being consistent and communicating thoroughly. I know I've been saying that for 2 years. I think we have made good progress, but we really do need to drive more consistency within Alfresco so that we can be clear in how we work with people externally. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're on top of the hour, and I know a couple of us has to leave for other meetings. Any closing thoughts on all of this? I think it's been great just reminiscing over Tech Talk Live, what we've done, and Jeff, it's been great having you here. Francesco, Kristen, any closing thoughts?
Just I will post in the community and ask and request suggestions for Tech Talk Live topics, or request topic, for volunteers if anybody's interested in hosting or working with somebody on our team to host as well, because we really do want your feedback. We'll continue to post the events in the community so you know when they're happening. The next one is going to be January 11th for Tech Talk Live, and then the 27th for Office Hours, and that'll focus on Beacon. If you have suggestions, you can reach any of us in the community or email me directly, Francesco as well. And I just want to kind of say thank you to you guys. I think this is a worthwhile event, and it's pretty striking that you've had 100. Alfresco has a long history, and it's nice to see this level of commitment, right?
Yes, just to say that I'm happy to stay with you together, guys, because again, I have followed the most part of the YouTube lives. Again, I'm available for the feedback. I won't like to have feedbacks. In any case, just my latest thought is on the Beacon next year at the end of April, and I suggest you to be part of the next office hour with the B guys, with the Bs, sorry. And we discuss a little more, but let's remember that soon also the Bees will release the call for papers for the Beacon. That's all.
Great. Well, we will see you guys, in a couple weeks. Everybody have a nice holiday season. Thank you, Jeff and Richard, for coming back. We appreciate you coming in this time.
Thank you, guys.
It's fun.
Thank you.
Always fun to hang out with this crowd.
Yep.
Thank you.
Later.
Bye, guys.